It's now time for Monster Soup, with your really fun at parties host, Dave Spencer, and his level-headed co-host, Brian McKinney. These dudes will explore all the crazy mysteries roaming off forest and deserted hallways. After all, monsters are real. It's Monster Soup time right now. Get it while it's hot. Now your hosts, Dave and Brian.
Hello. Welcome to the Valentine's Day episode of Monster Soup. Welcome to Monster Soup, the kitchen of conversation of misfits, cryptids, and these kids. I'm David Spencer, your caramel coated host. And with me, as always, is Brian, or as they call him in the streets, the Big Daddy Love Bopper in the sheets. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
It's Friday.
Happy
Valentine's Day. All right. Don't take these off.
What a better way to spend Valentine's Day to hang out with us.
I know. You know what? Abandon your loved ones. Come hang out in a weird basement talking about weird stuff with your two favorite weirdos. One laughing idiot. Oh man, this like slow cough all week, and it's been slowly driving me crazy. But like, I'm just like, my entire family was like violently ill for one day this week. I mean, just like everyone was just like, "Do you feel bad? I feel bad. I feel bad." Did you actually? I was wondering if we had food poisoning, and you went to the same party that I did, which was at my house. So I wondered if you also got sick. I was like, I think I have food poisoning. And Patty was like, I don't think it was food poisoning. So did you get sick?
No.
Anybody in your house? Okay. All right. It was a flu then. Yeah. We just, my God. We were
going around. Everybody's got it. I fortunately have been able to avoid it so far. But both my kids, Claire had it up at school. Evan had it here at home, and I tried to avoid him like the plague, no pun intended.
Yeah.
He had it like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. But yeah, people at work have had it, and I'm just like trying to keep my distance and avoid it. I hear it's pretty rough this year.
Oof, yeah, it was. I was peeing on my butt. It was no good. Oh, Johnny Hill, you're right. Sasquatch is love. Sasquatch is life. Loving a Sasquatch, loving your life. All right, get them hairy boys out in nature. Oh man! Speaking of, so I took the day off. I took a half day today because I was gonna go. Last week I went to my birthday. Like a pretentious artist that I am, I went to the art museum by myself, and then I promised my daughter I would bring her. And then she saw the like videos and stuff I took of me at the art museum, and she was just like, I was like, "Do you want to go?" And she goes, "No, art museum sounds boring." She's like, "I saw the videos." She's like, "It doesn't seem like anything that would excite me at all." And I was like, "All right." It's like, so I talked to my wife. She goes, "Well, why don't you just keep working?" And I was just like, because I took a half day, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Like that sounds insane. It's like, all right, took the day off. I'm just gonna do that. So I just kind of like hung around the house and made one of my drawing TikToks that I've been doing, and then just took the dogs for like a super long walk.
Yeah, Cora's like, yeah, Dad, art is your passion, not mine.
I know, but I just thought I was like, I don't want your life. I thought she would just have fun with me. Like, I was like, let's have, because she's always like like I'm down to clown, and then she just absolutely was shut it down. She was like, I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit here and talk to my friends on my iPad and like play Roblox. And I was like, that's fine, that's cool too, And then it was just like cats, like a reverse Cats in the Cradle and Silver Spoon. It's Dad. When you coming home, daughter, don't know when.
Sorry, ripping you off.
Yeah, she's like, I'm good, Dad. I didn't make a song called that. That's just a sad dad who wants to hang out with their daughter. Come on, please.
I've seen some of your I guess they'd be reels for me, of your TikToks and your drawings. It always, amazes me watching you draw that stuff, and just how quickly it comes together. Because I can draw a little bit. Like I back in the day, you know, I won a couple art contests, at, you know, at
No big deal.
in you know, grade school. You know, I beat out some of the other losers, you know, with some stuff. But I, you know, I was never what anybody would consider good. But you know, I can doodle a little bit, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, just to see you get down and just like pick a word and then just draw a picture and, you know, color it in and do all that. And I don't know how long it takes you. You know, the videos are quick, but
Yeah.
I've seen you do like your, you know, your children's books and stuff before as you're working on those. You know, it's
Yeah.
always, yeah, those are fun little videos to watch.
Thanks, man. Yeah, but if you guys are watching the video of this, I guess it's green. You can't really see it, so it's blacking out. So those, if you're watching the video, this is the my prompt was pretzel, and if you're good on your monster soup lore, you know why it's pretzel. I do this like pretzel Bavarian guy. That was my favorite one this week. Actually did pretty well as far as mine go. I'm in a growing audience right now, so I'm getting like 2 followers a day. But yeah, that was actually Scott, your brother's prompt, and he was just like, I was expecting a different picture, and I was like, I'm not going to draw that. For those not in the know, a long time ago when I was a kid, I saw a old man with a penis that looked like a pretzel. It was like in a, and I'm just like, I know in my brain that's not what happened. Like, but my memory is that's exactly what it was. I don't know what I was like.
To put a little context in the story, you were in some dark, dreary basement. You were at a YMCA in the locker room, just so nobody gets a weird idea about what was going on.
I wasn't in Uncle Touchy's puzzle basement or anything. It was I was in a locker room at a Y, and I was just like, what's going on? But like, you know, much like I'm sure a Bigfoot sighting, it's like I know what I saw, but like I don't believe what I saw is what I guess how it is. And it was like that's not how wieners work, and I'm like, I know. I know that too. But that's just whatever. But guess what, Brian? We're officially gonna be cruise people.
Oh, you guys booked it?
Finally, I have a random call. We finally, after all these years of being non-cruise people and people that go on the cheapest vacation because well, that's just kind of was our only option. We found we kind of piled ourselves into some reserve cash, and we were able to like just be like, hey, we should go for a real vacation that isn't just kind of like the bottom of the barrel, like, you know, like, oh, we found a house for $20 kind of thing. And then, yeah, so we're doing that, and we're going down to, I forget, some place in
like Caribbean.
Mexico. Oh yeah, the Caribbean, like past the Caribbean, like basically like just straight to that. But Tampa, we're going to stay in Tampa for a night. Oh, okay. So very excited about that. Never done that before. It's totally different trip vacation that I've ever experienced in my entire life. So they're
a lot of fun like, if you could deal with all the people, you know.
Yeah, I'm fine with people. Actually,
that doesn't bother me any.
I was just talking. I was actually talking to your wife about this. I texted her this video that somebody was talking about living in New York and how it's fun to like hear different people's conversations just like happening. And I love the idea of like a lot of people being around because like I can I feel like I thrive a little better or like fires my brain off and like synapses of like the way conversations work. I can kind of like jump into them or not and just like kind of observe them like when life is just happening around me. And so I'm very excited about that. That's what I kind of like about like Vegas and things where you can specifically in New York and things. But it's just like knowing that you're not the main character in every story that you're in. You can just kind of like let it be and you'd be like, wow, like this guy's day. And he's just like, hey, I'm walking in. Like, I don't know, just like everybody's just having a time. So I'm very excited about that, especially specifically like just being creative around like that many people like finding maybe a spot to like draw or something like that. I'm excited about doing that. But hopefully it's just drinking and hanging out though, really. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, which is what I typically do, but it's just so much fun to have that many people around that, you know, whether they're different cultures or for different places or just different parts of the US that you don't really, you know, it's not the same people you run into every day in your town, you know. And, people with just cool stories and cool vibes, and you know, it's just a ton of fun. And you know, especially coming out of like a winter like the one we've been having, going somewhere nice and warm sounds fantastic.
Oh my god, I was parked somewhere and it was 6:00. And I was picking up my daughter, and you know, it's been the darkness hours, and I was sitting there and I was like, oh, It's still light out. I mean, it was gonna be dark in like a second, but I was like, but it's light now, and this is usually dark, and I was just like, there's hope. It's just like,
oh my
it was
gosh,
like that little.
It's 6 o'clock, and there's still just a little glimmer of light left.
I know.
You know?
It was Gandalf coming over the hill at the Battle of Helm's Deep, just like with his staff coming right to the army of of orcs, and it's just, and I was just like, there is something for us, it's coming. I was just like, I had this like a little glimmer that like that it wasn't all bad. I was like, yes, it's coming.
Like we're coming out of it. We're the middle of February. Although next week it's supposed to be brutal again, like in the teens. But
I don't want to hear that.
we just got to get to like March 1st, and then we'll be.
This is Hope Corps.
Hopefully, coming out of it.
So I watched the show. I don't usually watch TV, but I was watching a little bit of TV yesterday, and I came across a really cool show. It was on. I want to say it was on Max, but I can't confirm that. But it's called The Curious Case of, and they have different stories. The one I was watching that was like my was one about Bam Margera from Jackass, and so I was just like, oh, let's watch this, and it's just the saddest story. Like he's just such a wreck, and you're like, oh, that really sucks, because he was in rehab. I was like, oh, Patty's like, my wife, she was just like, what's the last thing you knew about Bam? And I was like, I'm pretty sure he was in like rehab, but I think things were looking up, and then you find out like he was in rehab, but he just totally crashed out. And I was like, oh, that sucks. Like, I really thought he was like, because him and Steve-O were going through this whole thing, and I was like, I thought they kind of like got together and like hashed it over, and because Steve-O didn't have any malice against him, he was just kind of like, he's going through some stuff and he doesn't like me, but I will call him out on his stuff. But yeah, it was really sad. But the other episode I watched was about this morgue that basically was, how you can like turn your body into a tree, they'll like plant a tree that's your body, and then like it'll grow, and like I was like, that's perfect, that sounds awesome, I love that. Well, this company said they would do it, but they were just throwing bodies in a room and letting them rot. Like it was just like wild, dude. I mean, over like uncountable amounts of bodies just like in this like broken refrigerator, like didn't even work, was just like vile smelling. I mean, it was insane. I was like, this is
did they even like plant a tree and pretend that your body was mixed in with it or anything? Or
so I don't know the logistics of that. They didn't get to that as much as like the idea of like whatever that guy was and just trying to get into the psyche of that. But they were giving people like ashes and things, and then when they were doing like a search of the place, they found like tons of bags of concrete, and people were like testing ashes and like putting it into water, and it would harden. They were like, oh, this isn't my son's ashes or whatever, this is just cement they gave me. Like they weren't even cremating. So they were just pocketing
special place in hell for people like that.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, the thing is, like, they're not even. At least the time. I think the time of the filming of it, they weren't even in jail. They were like working at like Uber Eats or something because they couldn't get jobs anywhere else. And so like imagine just like hating these people, and then they deliver your like Wendy's. You're like, oh, you. But yeah, it was really good. It was interesting. There's a bunch of different stories on there, but I just watched those two, and then I started doing something else. But yeah, it was pretty good. If you guys are curious about that. And the other thing that happened was the Super Bowl, which was fun. We had tons of what was it? Tons of Mexican food. I made barbacoa. Well, I didn't make barbacoa. My wife made barbacoa, and I ate barbacoa, and then I ate tons of it. Then I got super sick, and then I no longer wanted barbacoa. So we still have barbacoa, but there was 3 marvelous days of Mexican food before I wanted to die, which solves my theory that I can't have Mexican for every meal, because eventually I will crash out.
You can't have too much of it, yeah. But yeah, it was a good time.
I know.
Party.
Yeah, it was freaking.
Most of us were rooting for the Eagles. Not that we really cared at all, but
yeah, no dog in the fight. But we're never gonna have a dog in the fight.
Yeah.
Although Bill Nye said that the Guardians are the pick. Bill Nye, the science guy. I didn't dig into why specifically he had the reins on that, but
yeah, in the clip I saw, it was just him saying that. But yeah, I didn't hear any explanation or anything. But it was like, hey, it's good enough for me. Let's go. Let's go.
I think that's like our hope core is just believing. If anybody gives us like the number, we're like that. We're believing that guy.
Yep. Spring training has started. Pitchers and catchers have reported. Practices are underway.
Yeah. And if you weren't, I mean, I really like hip hop. So Kendrick Lamar, he killed it out there. Man, I forgot how much I love Sia. If you guys haven't listened to the album Command Control, I can't recommend this album enough. It's maybe one of my top 10 albums. It's Sia. I said Sia. SZA. That's SZA. I'm pronouncing it because I didn't know what her name was. I just knew that it was SZA, and I was like, I don't know how to say that. And I was trying to say it to Alexa once. I was like, play Za. Like it wouldn't do it, and I was like, I don't know how to get. I'm too white to get my Alexa to play my music. And then I spelled it for Alexa, and she goes, playing SZA, and I was like, oh. I immediately went pale in the chicken I was eating lost seasoning. Like it's like, gosh.
Well, I mean, you were doing it on accident, but for me, there's nothing more fun, than being like, a dad and purposefully, being like the old guy who doesn't understand what's going on. I was sitting on the couch next to your daughter and one of the other girls, and when SZA came on, I was just like, what's her name? And they're like, SZA. I was like, her name is Scissors? And I'm like, why was her name Scissors? And they're looking at me like, what is wrong with you? Like, are you so old that you have no idea what's going on? Now, meanwhile, they don't know that I do know who she is, And then when what's his name? DJ Mustard came on, I was just like, so there's a girl named Scissors and a guy named Mustard on the stage, and these girls were like, shut up, old man. Like you're talking during the Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh my gosh.
The side eye I got from those girls, were just
they were not
hilarious.
having it.
Yeah.
Oh man, the revolution will not be televised. They picked the right time but the wrong guy. Oh gosh, I love him so much. Damn is such a good album. If you are interested in hip hop at all, you probably are listening to him, so that is a dumb statement. But give him some listens. He's got some good messages, good music. Plus, it's just so funny to see Drake just get an entire stadium full of people say ape. I claim that the lyric A minor that, like, I'm blanking right now the full thing, but it's probably A minor is maybe the most important lyric of the 20 of the aughts of the 20 the 21st century. It's just such like first off, it's like a big like crescendo of a moment of like A minor. It's just so much fun to do like during the song, because you can just kind of like dun, 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 and like enjoy that, but then all of a sudden that comes in, everybody in the room can just like scream that. You're like dissing Drake, but you're also just enjoying that like moment of camaraderie of like dissing Drake. I mean, if I want to connect us to Bigfoot, we went to the Bigfoot festival when Kendrick and Drake were having that like feud, and your son was there, and he kept like coming up and being like, dude, Kendrick just dropped all these cool songs. And he was just like, oh, and then like every 3 hours he would come back and be like, he just dropped another song. So like we were at the Bigfoot thing, and I'm listening, he's like giving me one headphone, I'm listening to the other, and we're just like, oh, and it was so much fun. Just like when I think of those songs coming out, I specifically think of like listening to them there and just like hyping up with your son, just being like, this is awesome. In the way I wouldn't have been able to experience like at home, because my wife doesn't like hip hop the way I do. She would have been like, okay, like, you don't even know these people, and I'm like, that's not what I'm talking about. You don't get it.
I mean, we were at the bar hanging out with like people from Finding Bigfoot and Doug that runs the network and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, Cliff, sorry, I gotta go. Kendrick just dropped a new song. I'll be back in a few minutes.
Just gotta hype it up, man. Listen, you gotta make your own fun, and that's what I was doing. It was great. Oh, so we got a new boss at work. And she's like our higher up person. And I did like a one-on-one. She had like office hours, and I was like, I'll drop in, say hello, whatever, be charming, whatever, make a face. And she was super cool. I already knew she was into music because I accidentally, she was like, anybody have any good like workout music or whatever? And I was like, because I didn't know who I was talking to at the time. I was like, I have this really funny playlist, not funny, but like it's really cool. It's called Workout Twerkout, and it's just like nasty hip hop, and it's just like nasty. But it's so much fun to work out to because it's just like Megan Thee Stallion and stuff, where it's just like skinny waist, tall hair, and I'm just like, oh, this is awesome, and it's just talking crap, and so I was like that, and it's called Workout Twerkout, and then like I'm talking to her, and then I started talking about emo music, and she's like, oh, I like emo, and then I was like, oh wait, this is my new boss. I was like, I just request whatever, but I was like, oh, she was really cool about it, and then we were talking during our meeting, and then she introduced me to a freaking awesome genre of music called black gaze music. Mm-hmm. Black gaze, like shoegaze and black metal. Mm-hmm. And what is it? It's amazing. Deftones are my favorite band, like hands down. They sound, it's just like it's like that like melodic kind of like, but then like kind of singy and like ethereal. Oh dude, I was just like, this is exactly what I like. If you like the song Shut Up and Drive Far Away, like it has that like kind of like, but then just like grinding guitars. I'm just like, oh yeah. So it's just black metal with that kind of like stargazy kind of thing. So it's called Black Gaze. Like look it up on Spotify, and you'll just be like, you just get it, just vibe with it, take an edible, live your life. Yeah, that's all. I think that's all I have for this week as far as like things that I know personally that were going on. I was really sick most of it, so a lot of it was just like, do you still feel terrible? And then my wife being like, yes, I feel terrible. And then we had grilled cheese 3 nights in a row because we just wanted it. I was like, do you want to have grilled cheese? Because I just don't want to make food and I'm so tired.
You're like, I don't feel good. I'm tired. It's easy to make. The kids like it. It's easy on the stomach, in case you have a misfire again.
Oh, Courtney Lopez, she's gonna have to check that out. And you're right. At least it wasn't Workout Tweak Out. You do need to check it out. It's amazing. You'll just start jamming. I wish I could like make a little. Maybe I'll drop it on the Facebook page. Just like start putting in recommendations of music because I like talking about music and I like recommending music. So you'll be like, why is this Bigfoot podcast Facebook page also just like about?
They're giving the hottest music recommendations.
Yeah, just like it's that's what I call music. Dave Spencer edition. It's just like Megan Thee Stallion the whole time. It's like, this is weird. I'm sure a lot of people who like are into Bigfoot are listening to different stuff, but you know what? I am not, and whatever.
I think it kind of runs the gamut,
Yeah. Listen, I don't want to typecast anybody. That's, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
I don't want to assume what you guys listen to. You guys can be getting down. Maybe you'll come to me with your playlist, like, oh, you think I only listen to Travis Tritt? And they're just listening to like the hardest gangster rap, and I'm like, whoa, this is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like an old school metal guy, and if I listen to blues music and I listen to don't get me started with some 80s, I'll start dancing to some Duran Duran right now. Come on, man.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, we all know that Sasquatch has his own saxophone band right now.
I know.
Sasquatch. Yeah. Or wait, what is it? Is it Sasquatch?
Sasquatch. Yeah. And he's playing Tuesday in the Cleveland area. If you're around, I will not be here.
Oh yeah. Where are you going? I forget. It's
I have to do a work thing. So I have to travel I got to travel to Cincinnati on my wife's birthday. Yeah. So, and that's the night of the concert. Yeah. So I have to go during the day because we have meetings at 8 a.m. the next morning. So, so I'll be driving on that day. So I will not be able to attend, but you'll have to let me know how it was.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Maybe I should. No, I wanted to go with you guys. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I will go. I don't know if tickets are still available. I'll check it out.
Something tells me they're probably still available.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe not. Maybe he's like just totally sold out. If anybody lives in the Cleveland area, let's go to Sasquatch together, and we'll have a little meetup. And where's he playing? Let's find out.
I don't know. It might be like the Agora or something. I don't know. I never looked too much into it because I knew right off the bat that I wasn't gonna be able to go.
Yeah.
But it does look like it'd be a lot of fun. He's dressed up in a costume. There's he's playing the sax.
And so,
like a band playing.
It's
a Beachland Ballroom. Thanks, Scott.
as someone who sweats like so easy, I can't imagine being in a full like Yeti costume or Sasquatch outfit like while doing any activity. Like it would be, especially going on tour with it. I'm sure it doesn't get every wash that it needs, and just being like, oh, like he comes up on stage, you're just like, yeah, oh,
smells like a real
right
Bigfoot.
Yeah, you know what? It adds the authenticity. Like,
yeah.
You thought you were getting Bigfoot. You're getting the skunk ape tonight. Yeah. it's a gnarly dude.
And then I'm sure every day, like he's got to like clean his sacks. And he's like, this thing is just full of hair. Like, what's going on?
Just a logistical nightmare. He's trying to blow into the saxophone. It's just
there's hair coming out the end.
Oh man,
I want to go so bad.
Oh, Nashville and Tennessee. Are you going? Courtney's. I don't know if Courtney's telling me that she's going to theirs, but we live in the Cleveland area, so that's where we're gonna go. But I can't find the tickets though. This isn't something I should be doing now, but I'm just so curious. I'm sure there's other things like running the show. Wait a minute, it's only $25. I might just show up. Oh, he's even got those. What are they called? There's a name for the glasses that like have the full front, like the old. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
like the Macho Man Randy Savage style ones. Oh man. Wait, it says he works with legends like John Oates, Billy Ray Cyrus, and the band War. Is he just like you know what? Here it is. It's got to be a guy who's like
there's a guy dude. There's a guy in a costume. It's not actually Bigfoot. That's what it is.
No,
the guy probably plays in John Oates' band or something. Then he puts now I understand what's going on here.
No, what I was gonna say is, sometimes you get like really old, and then like you don't really. You want to bring people that would enjoy it, but like maybe you also like Bigfoot. You're like, no, it'd be funny if I just do this, but like I'm an old guy, and maybe people don't want to see an old guy play the saxophone, but what they would like to see is a Sasquatch playing the saxophone. And so it's like his second act is just being this ridiculous guy. I mean, listen, he's got me talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, and he goes on tour with Oates and Moore, and when they're not playing gigs, he's like, you know what, I got to put the suit on, make a living.
Or we don't know if he's not wearing that on the John Oates stage. He's just like, and I want not to handle, and he's just like,
and you're like, who's playing that wicked sax in the background? Oh my lord, it's a Yeti.
Bigfoot? Oh, Scott, you don't understand. I actually do. I think I want to say that I did email him to get him on the podcast. I would love nothing more than to have Sasquatch on my podcast or our podcast. Like I would, it would be so much fun just to talk about. Actually, I'm gonna do it again, just in case I didn't do it.
I mean, he'll be in town next week, so
yeah, I'm gonna go to his website.
He could promote it for the tens of people that listen to this podcast.
Do you want to reach tens of people? You know what? 10 lovely people that listen to this podcast. I do not know the numbers. We could easily have 100 lessons. I have zero idea. I just I don't pay attention to that. I just talk to the void, and then the void talks back sometimes. And they say hi, and we say hi back. Francesca, listen, that's what today's is about. We're talking about that today. I'm very excited about it. Actually, yeah, we should get to the let's get to the topic at hand. Now we're talking a lot about Sasquatch. Yeah. Sasquatch.
Yeah, we're not getting paid to promote Sasquatch. Let's talk about the real topics at hand here.
Listen, let's not tell ourselves that, because maybe he could be our main sponsor.
You never know. All I know is when I was at dinner last night and you texted me the big news, I immediately texted my daughter, who I've watched countless documentaries on about Jack the Ripper, and I was like, "Did you hear that they found out they got a DNA match on Jack the Ripper?" And she was just like, "Yeah, I just saw that. That's crazy." We talk about a father-daughter bonding moment. She's at college with her friends, and she's like, "My dad's texting me about Jack the Ripper."
Hold on, we're talking about 120 years. I have to talk about this. Yeah, so if you're unaware, there's big news. I guess we should kind of walk through it a little bit. Back in from between 1888 to 1892, there was a lot of different murders that happened in this small area of
in Whitechapel in
in
England.
Whitechapel, and they were called the Whitechapel murders. The what was it, the leather apron murders?
The Leather Apron, which by the way is the name of my metal band.
Dude, very good name, honestly. It's dope because I think it comes with a couple connotations. Like you could have like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of jam with everything. But yeah, there's just it's. I think a lot of it has to do with. I mean, Victorian times in general are just very interesting as a small. But it's like the first serial murder that like I'm aware of that like really at least grabbed everybody, that like people were aware of nationally. Or not nationally, worldwide. People were like Jack the Ripper, and it should be, and the fact that it was never solved, up until
just added to the allure, of the story.
Yeah. So I mean, and there's 5 confirmed canonical murders, but it's been known to be up to 11 that are kind of in the same vein. People like H.H. Holmes have been connected to it. Just from his whole bag. If you're unaware,
I so wanted it to be him because that would just be the coolest.
I know. Yeah, I know. It would be such like because there's just such a like a traveling lore of like we're adding him onto it. Oh my gosh. But because his whole bag is like he had a murder house and like he built like rooms just specifically for murder and then would drop people in.
Yeah, and he was in England in that time frame, so there was some overlap there. So I was like, oh man, that's got to be him. It's got to be him.
I was listening to a story about, I want to say it was, let's just say it was Ed Gein. Not Ed Gein. Who's the clown guy?
Gacy.
Who's the Gacy? Story about Gacy, and I think it was Gacy, and he went on like road trips and stuff, and they were like, we think that he did stuff there like when he was on road trips too, because there's all these like highway murders that like they could never get connected to anybody, and they're like, oh my gosh, like his numbers may be like so much higher than like we're aware of, because I don't think he ever admitted to anything. Like he was just like, I didn't do that. And they're like, well, you did because we found everything. And he's like, no, I didn't do that.
There's all these dead kids in your basement.
Yeah, we like found all of it. No, what am I talking about? But yeah, so all this stuff's happening.
It wasn't me, it was Yucko the clown.
Yeah. You'd be like, there's 2 clown-based murders, which could happen. Very numerical. I mean, I already don't like clowns. I don't need that on top of it. But yeah, so I mean, given all this that's happening, on top of that, there's just such a boom of people that start showing up in Whitechapel. I mean, there's just think about it's just like it's a needle in a haystack when it comes to like the amount of people, because there's no like fingerprint evidence back then. There's no DNA evidence back then. You just have like, I think it was that guy, and it's like it's old Stuggins, and then you get eyewitness testimonies, and those are already like even now are terrible. People will see stuff and say it was this, and then they'll look at like the video evidence and like that wasn't happening at all. So there's just like there's so much that like could
in the area of Whitechapel time, it's kind of a seedy area. There's lots of people there. There's a lot of prostitutes, a lot of just thuggery going on. Just the general elite public is just kind of like, oh yeah, that kind of stuff happens over in those kinds of neighborhoods, kind of a thing. So like they didn't care too much about it, and you're there just dealing with this stuff, and you got this psycho running around. You have no idea what's going on, and these people can't leave. They're stuck there. This is their neighborhood. This is where they live.
Yeah, I mean, you're like, I got 2 pennies to rub together. I'm staying here. Well, I mean, and then you add on to the fact that everyone who was murdered was potentially a prostitute. So prostitutes in general, even and this is still a case today. Missing prostitutes go missing, and the police are like, well, you know what? They shouldn't have been a prostitute. And this is like the saddest fact that happens just through and through. Should not be a truth, but it is that like the lower parts of our, perceived lower parts of our society kind of get the short stick because they kind of tend to stalk the areas that are a little, seedier. So they're like, well, they shouldn't have been in the seedy area. But you know what? That's sex work is work. It is there's a need that is need to be filled. They fill that need. That is what they do. You know, I don't put any shame on them. I will never put any shame on them. They're doing the hard work and they're making that money. You know, the world is cold. You got to pack your own heat. It's just how it works. But yeah, so like they basically were shoved under the rug, but the general public just starts like speculating on who it could have been. Everybody kind of has something to say about it, like, oh, you know, I saw such and such talking to this guy and stuff, but they were not even connected to these victims and stuff. It's just everybody wanted a piece of the pie, you know, as far as like being.
You know, it was always, you know, they'd say, well, I saw her, you know, a half hour before it happened, she was talking to this dark-haired guy. You know, I was like, okay, you know, it's late at night in the shadows. You see her talking to a dark-haired guy. You know, like there's no way to pinpoint. You know, I'm sure everybody back then, they're wearing their overcoats. They got their fedoras on or whatever, and you know, their little paperboy hats, and you know, they're doing their thing. But it's like they couldn't get a good description of anything. You know, these women were mostly. I don't think they all were prostitutes or assumed to be prostitutes, but you know, some of them were, and you know, it's just kind of like, hey, this is the kind of stuff that goes on. So like, they didn't seem all that concerned about it at first, and then once it started like really hitting the papers. Then it kind of became a big deal.
Yeah, a lot of it was like the way they were killed, which is very surgical, but also very aggressive and just like you know, just like just like trying to remove their spine, taking out their kidneys, like doing things, which is why a lot of people were thinking, oh, it must be a surgeon. Which is where a lot of speculation came, which you know, that kind of built the lore for longer than it should have, as far as like, you know, who could this have been? Because surgeons tend to be like higher society, and higher society was like, well, is this like a bigger thing? Which builds the lore even more. It's like, we already don't like these people, so like let's like, you know, add this extra thing of like, you know, like skull and bones kind of thing. You know, what's the Devil in the White City. Yeah, you're right. I actually haven't seen that movie. I've heard about that book, and I heard some amazing thing about H.H. Holmes. I'll check that out, Francesca. But what was it? But what was the movie that I watched? Is it Johnny Depp in it? Am I wrong? There's like a movie about Jack the Ripper that I watched like the 90s. It was pretty good, but they did have all that like high society. If you're aware of Batman at all, there's like they're called the Court of Owls, and they exist in the background of Gotham, and they've basically always been there, and then all of a sudden they like reveal themselves to Bruce Wayne, and you realize they're like this whole, so it's basically the same idea of like what they thought that this whole Jack the Ripper thing was. Is like, maybe Jack Ripper wasn't even one guy, it was like a secret society of people that was coming out, you know. But again, that's just like adds on to the lore of like, what is this, like what has been going on. And am I wrong in saying it was like the first serial killer, like aware of serial killer, like outside of like the Black Plague and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it wasn't significantly past them having like the printing press and stuff like that. So like there was probably other serial killers, but it was just word of mouth. But the fact that like it became such a big deal in newspapers, like kind of around the world, and
I guess the word I'm thinking is the first time those words have been uttered.
Maybe. Possibly, yeah, just the word serial killer. Well, and even the name Jack the Ripper, you know, it supposedly came from a letter that was written to the newspaper, but I think they pretty much decided that it was the reporters made that name and that letter just to sell newspapers, you know.
Yeah, which is so prevalent. I've learned the more cases of anything that I listen to is
could you imagine that you know, somebody in the media would make something up just to sell newspapers? I mean, that's that's unheard of.
No, it's always on the up and up. Everybody is out to make everybody's life a little better and not trying to scare them and make them. I always remember, like, after 9/11, I remember like during 9/11, the reason there was like that thing at the bottom of the what's it called, the banner thing, and it would just be like breaking news, because there would always be something new that was happening. It was such a traumatic time for America, and and I was just like, oh my gosh, like what's new? I would, you know, just glued to the TV. Like the moment it happened, you were just like, oh my gosh, you needed to ingest everything. So then I was aware of that that bottom banner thing. So every time I would see that on the news, it would just be there, and I would be like, "Oh, what's happening now?" Just like in this like fever pitch of like, like, did they find out who? Just anything, just trying to get like crumbs. And then I noticed that they used it all the time after that, like for dumb stuff that didn't require it. And I'm like, oh, like that's when I started to be like, oh, they're just doing this on purpose now, like, and it'd be like, gerbils found to have cancer, and I'm like, okay, like,
is that
this isn't
news?
breaking news? Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe it is. Our gerbil friend.
I mean, for gerbils, it would be, but
yeah, I know. I don't have gerbil TV though, or do I? I don't know. My cable package is weird. But where was it going? I went far away from it. But, oh yeah, the news.
Yeah, but yeah, the selling newspapers, the name Jack the Ripper, everything about it just became sensationalized, and it was an easy sell, especially with the manner in which he was carving people up. I mean, it's not like, oh, some guy just walked down the street and just randomly stabbed somebody and went on with their day, kind of a thing. It was like slit their throat, take all of their organs out, put them in other parts of their body, put them under their head, throw them in the streets. I mean, just carving their faces up. I mean, just like, what is going on here?
Yeah,
it was like beyond like a crime of passion. It was like,
I mean, like, because it was like, what's the purpose here? Like, what were you trying to accomplish? Which then, adds on to like, are they trying to just like collect, all these like one full person after this, which like some serial killers have done, or did I wait? I might be thinking of a movie. But so I have a list of suspects that were in the mix. One of them was William Burry, and so he had killed his wife, and his wife's murder was very similar to some of the stuff that was happening. And he had in graffiti in his house there was written like, Jack the Ripper is at the back of this door. Jack the Ripper is in this cellar. Like, he had that kind of stuff like written everywhere. So that was one guy that was kind of like thought to maybe be him. But he really like, and he had like a deathbed confession, but it had nothing to do with that. He was just like, oh, so everybody just kind of was like, it was definitely this guy, right? Obviously further evidence proved that it was not him. He just kind of like, I don't know if it was one of those like sensationalists, like, maybe I'll just tack this on at the end kind of thing, and I'll write some graffiti. But he was kind of like known as one. This guy named Montague John Durrett. He was found floating in a river. Actually, he had committed suicide. But he was the son of a medical practitioner. So like, he was thought to, like, oh, you have a link to that. And then his family said that he was sexually insane, which could mean a multitude of things, but I'm sure a lot of it is sexual deviancy, just having like maybe just like a lust that was like unsatiable. But they were, with all that mixed together, it's like, we got our guy, right? And I think he was around the area at the time. And then another guy named James Maybrick, and he had a diary there was a diary that was found that had confessions to a murder that seemed very similar. He had a pocket watch that had it had his name written on it, and it had initials of all the people that were killed. They later found out that the diary was post-dated after the murders, so it was just, and that it really probably didn't even belong to him. Not sure about the watch. The watch just kind of maybe was just getting
the
silly.
The jeweler didn't pick up on it, that he was asking, "Hey, could you carve in the initials here?" All these people that. Well,
the thing was, it was just kind of hand carved. It wasn't like a professional carving. Yeah. It was literally just like a guy with his knife kind of thing. And then Walter Sickert, and he was a painter. He painted a lot of really cool, just you can Google him. As actually a lot of his works were really cool. But some of it was very just kind of like in the slums of that area. And but that's just stuff he liked to paint. And as we know, artists are weirdos. This guy included. But yeah, so he painted a lot of just like people laying on beds and things like that. So they're like, it must have been him. And then his descendants later in life said that like it was like the family's mystery that it was him. And this is like a not recent, but like more recent than like the 1800s or whatever. And then, but other than the family saying that, there was no ties to him ever doing that. And then we get to today's news, or roundabout today's news. A fellow named Russell Edwards had written a lot of books about Jack the Ripper, and with that came a intense desire to know who the killer was. Who was this guy? He dug in, and he found out that there was an auction up for a Shaw that was on the scene. That was who was the Shaw? Who did the Shaw belong to? I wrote it down. Where did I write it down?
It was.
It was one of the.
It was.
Catherine Eddowes, and so she's wearing the Shaw, and there was DNA on the Shaw that they found. So he had it tested, and it came back as a man that had been in custody before, but they just there was nothing to grab from him. But a man named Aaron Kosminski. He's a Polish man. He lived in London. He became a barber. He was 23 at the time of the murders. He was long considered a suspect. And he actually died in an institution. He had lots of psychological problems. They said he hated women, which, builds the MO. He was just he's just a loser. he was one of those guys. I'm glad you're glad he died in incarceration at the end, because that's where he deserved, after everything he did.
But
so I don't know.
It's interesting though, with when they were talking about the MO and being somebody with surgical experience and all this kind of stuff, and then it ends up to be a 23-year-old barber.
Yeah, I mean, which honestly, I've watched videos of barbers like doing stuff that like isn't on Barbary, and they're good with a blade, man. I mean, like that is like their job is to be good with stuff
themselves. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, they have two very sharp objects. If you go to a good barber, they give you that shave, and that shave is so nice. And then they got their scissors, man. I mean, they're good with cutting objects. They have sharp blades. That's what they have. They have to be precise because they can't just jab into it. So they have to be good with that. So there's the MO starts building itself, and on top of that, he has his schizophrenia, that was documented from all this, and it's just the rest is history. So right now, and they got the DNA match by they got blood from his great granddaughter, and then the match of the DNA is 100%. So basically, at this point, we are just in the middle zone of documenting and making sure, or letting everybody know, but also trying to get that on the ledger of like, this is who it is. It's for sure. We figured it out. That's obviously some paperwork that is boring and whatever, but
because they took it to like Scotland Yard to try to, get official documentation saying that he was the killer, because this is private people doing a private DNA and got this match. So they're trying to get the authorities to actually officially document that he was the killer. But
so so I think it's just right now we're just in logisticals, but like it's for sure thing. You just gotta, basically that's what we're saying now. It's just so crazy to see. Rarely does it happen where there's a case solved and it's actually case solved. Like it's they're like, we got evidence, then you look at it, you're like, that's like a blurry cam from 2 parking lots away, for something that's like solved. And this is like the first time that it's like, no, like we have a DNA and we have the person that the DNA would match to. Like we're good.
Relatives of both. And then I just can't believe that when he buys the Shaw at the auction, and this was like 2007. It wasn't like that long ago. I mean, DNA really kind of came out in the mid to late 90s. But it still wasn't like what we have today. But just why they never wanted to do anything with it. It was supposedly from the scene. You could see that it had blood on it. I remember watching it's a TV show or a documentary or something where they talked about the Shaw, and you saw it, and it was like that. You're like, there is blood and stuff on it. Yeah. But why they never wanted to test it? Maybe they didn't want to contaminate it.
Yeah. I mean, there might be a multitude. I mean, sometimes, there is a joy to not knowing, and maybe the person that owned it before. I mean, this is all speculative. This is just me talking, but that's what we do. it could just be like, listen, I don't want to solve that murder because then maybe then that mystery is gone. A magic trick is only cool until how this sausage is made. So maybe it's just like, I don't want to take the magic out of the situation. It doesn't really matter at this point who did it. There's no living family that's like walking around that like, specifically knew who this was. They just have descendants at this point. So there's not just like some, 100-year-old ladies like, I miss Margaret. It's just, it's just grandkids now.
You wonder if anything it will come of, the other murders that weren't necessarily completely linked to being from, Jack the Ripper, if this will produce evidence or anything that would potentially link into some of those other ones,
Yeah, I don't even know if we have
always thought to be, the same person could potentially have done like all like 11, 12 of them, however many there actually were at the time.
Yeah, I wonder if
the five were definitely kind of considered to be together.
What if they have like any other DNA like around, Yeah,
I mean,
sometimes it is like a lot of copycat stuff. So,
but there might be, some of these other people may have known that guy. Maybe there's not DNA, but maybe there's a connection between this guy who they didn't necessarily think was involved and the person who died. Maybe they'll find kind of some circumstantial evidence like that. Maybe he was their barber.
You know what? Maybe. That would be well. Yeah, I gonna say something stupid. Right now. I'm not even gonna say the stupid thing.
Just be like, oh yeah, Carol. She went to see him. That was her guy.
Maybe he dished the best gossip, and he was just like, he's like, honey, he's like, you don't understand. Be like, oh, I told that lady too much. I gotta kill her now.
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy out on the town, like he was a. He was a 23-year-old playboy out looking for fun, and little did these ladies know that what they were in store for.
Yeah, well, I mean, another reason why they thought it was a kind of a higher up person was that the people that did see them kind of leave with somebody. They seem to be kind of like courting them in a way,
dressed for the part.
Yeah. Oh, what were the one phrase that was uttered to the girl? They said they saw a tall man, a tall foreign man, which back then usually meant Jewish in the phrases that they would use it.
And
would
he
say,
was
"Will?" Yeah, it is. And they just heard him say, "Will you?" And so whatever that meant. But then that same lady was found decapitated with her spine trying to be ripped out, and their intestines removed.
Apparently, she wouldn't. And
yeah. Well.
Sorry about that. My bad.
I know. I'm sorry that I'm laughing through any of this. It's so brutal, but I can't help it. It's my response to everything. It's so upsetting. I know my voice doesn't say it. Now I'm nervous. Everyone hates it. But yeah, it's brutal murders. I'm glad we finally got to the bottom of it. I hope that I don't know what this means for like where we go forward, but it definitely puts a name onto this huge mystery. I mean, like I was obsessed with this as a kid. I don't know why. Like I was just like, 9 and being like Jack the Ripper. I think I even did like a report about it when I was a child, which I'm sure most weird spooky kids did. But you're just like, I think it's just really fun to just dig into these like weird old murders. I mean, I don't even know what. I mean, I think that everybody who was like into this topic probably got those books out of the library and just like dug through them, whether it be Mothman or Bigfoot or weird murders from back in the day or
they're like, do a book report on your favorite Victorian character. You're like, Jack the Ripper.
Jack the Ripper. Till this day, the last half's right in my own blood. Like, we're worried about little David. I'm fine. But yeah, so I mean, it's really just it's up to history now what happens to it. But I'm equal parts sad and glad they finally nailed this. Only sad because it's just a mystery that's no longer part of the zeitgeist. It's just a mystery that is. But I guess there's nothing wrong with knowing who it is. I guess like they'd be the same thing. I mean, I'm always like, there's another case that's similar to this of like lots of murders. We didn't know who the killer was. Being the what's his name? The Zodiac killer. Same kind of thing. You know, there was things mailed to the newspaper or to the police department, and then, you know, tons of ciphers, and those are a lot of those ciphers. Some people say that like they came from different places, and that murder was never solved. Even when they thought it was solved, they would like find that there was other things involved during it, and there's so many cool parts to that. I would love to do that series too. But it's so cool just to like hear about all the little different parts and how much work all these cops put into it, like trying to get it kind of solved, but then also kind of fumbling the bag a bit. Can't be an easy job, but
especially back when, you know, the whole serial killer thing was kind of new, you know, to the police force. It was like they didn't have like a rule book to go by. Like, this is how, you know, they didn't have the you know, the studies and the psychological tests and the information that you can kind of use to say, you know, these people, profiling is the word I'm looking for. You know, they kind of like made that up as they were going along. You know, now they have, you know, studies and things that they teach, you know, police about profiling and how to do it, and kind of to help you out. But back then it was like, I don't know, man, it's just some nut out there killing people, and you just gotta try to figure it out.
Yeah, like intuition I think can only take you so far with like certain things, but you gotta kind of, especially if you get like, I mean, I think we all get bullheaded on things no matter what they are. I would just hope that like the people that get bullheaded on certain things, it doesn't involve like maybe another guy's life who wasn't actually involved in it. He just like had a weird night one night. He's like, I was there, but like, you know, I was acting creepy, but I was just uncomfortable. And, you know, it's like I was saying, I was starting to laugh, and I was like, I don't mean to laugh. It's like, you know, did you do it? And like, no, it's just, I don't know.
Why are you laughing? Because I'm uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable. Man. But yeah, it's just, it's finally just, we got there. We did the thing. Now we just need to figure out all 9 billion other murders that have happened, you know, around the world. You know, hopefully we'll find shreds and stuff of other people that are, maybe can have like some peace. I don't know if there's anything, you know, past like, when it comes to like death and, you know, what happens afterwards. This is a bigger question, I guess, a bigger conversation, but you know, that maybe there is something to like nobody knowing who your killer is, and you know, where you're laid to rest after that. But you know, whatever you believe in, I'm not religious, but I also believe that there's something afterwards, but I just don't know what that thing is. And if that thing is like, you kind of have to have your business in order when it happens. Business has been in order, you're free to go. So you know, if there's anything to that, I would, you know, I'd love to see that at the end. But
yeah, I'm definitely gonna, you know, kind of keep an eye on this and see, you know, with him coming from Poland, and maybe there's a whole string of Polish murders that are there that they didn't have any idea who it was, and maybe that's why he ended up in London. He was, you know, fleeing the scene from some other bad stuff he had done. You know,
I mean, your relatives were horse thieves, so
I know this is the beginning of the story. You know, I know.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I mean,
I can't go back to Ireland. They still have wanted posters of us. Back in the 1500s,
I think
one of your family members.
Yeah, they're like, you get off the plane. They're like, there he is, get him. You're like, really? It's a 1500. I know a McKinney boy when I see one.
I hope not. My daughter's going there to play with the band with her college here for St. Patrick's Day.
Not anymore.
So she's not going to make it home.
She's gonna be zip tied to the side of the pole for the remainder. Can't be sullying our ears with the sounds of a McKinney. I think my I'm sure this is like a story for like every single American, like, but I remember my family was telling me once that my ancestors, the person who came to America, like came on a murder charge and changed his name. So our names used to be something else like crazy. And it wasn't even like close to, it wasn't even Spencer. It was like, it wasn't like Spanzora or anything. It was like, I'm a mutt. I don't have any like lineage that I'm aware of. I'm like just a drop of everything. The best kind. So I don't know what my original name was, but it's something else. But I think we all probably come from something that's like weird. But yours actually, am I wrong in saying that you actually, that was a lie that you had made up for your kids? Okay, yeah.
No, I didn't make it up. My grandfather made it up and told us that throughout our whole lives. And then I had it on a report when I was in college on like a genealogy thing. Then one of my aunts was reading through it prior to me turning it in and was like, you realize that's not true, right? And I was like, well, that's what your father's been telling me for years. And we called him on the phone, and he started laughing. He's like, I can't believe they still believe that. I've been telling them that since they were little kids. It was like, well, we believed you. You're our grandfather.
That would give me such a sense of pride of this like long joke, like as like a dad joke that just like kept going in a way. I'd be like, I would look in the mirror and then salute myself.
Well, then, like now I tell the story like it's true, just like as a tribute to my grandfather, because it was like the ultimate dad joke. Like his grandson's in college turning in a paper. This is pre like ancestry.com and all that kind of stuff. So you were just going on word of mouth stuff. This is like the mid 90s. And, I was like, cheers to you, sir. You had me fooled for 20 years.
Oh man, you could just make stuff up back then. Just do whatever you want. No one's checking you. And you can just tell stuff to kids all the time. I remember my favorite thing to do. No one likes it anymore, but I used to lie to my kids all the time about like dumb stuff, like how things were made. I would just like, they just take, I can't even think. Oh, there would be like a big roll of hay and like in a field. I'd be like, that's how they make toilet paper. But they shrink it down after they dry it. It gets real little, and they're just like, really? And I'm like, yeah, and just straight face it. And my wife's just like, why are you doing this to them? I'm just like, what? Like I would just say it, like she's like, why did you do that? Like you didn't need to lie to them at that moment. I'm like, but it's so much fun.
It's like you're a totally normal person, and then the second you have a child and you're a man, immediately you get that like dad sarcasm, dad joke. Like I take joy in teasing and lying to them about everything. When they're little, because they believe anything. They're like, oh, this is my dad. He knows everything. And he just told me that,
he just told, I know how toilet paper's made now. Like, you just hope they don't repeat it and then like think it's true. You're like, oh no. No, we can do. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, by the way, I've thought of the best Halloween costume. This is a total tangent. This whole last part's gonna be tangent. I think we're done with the Jack the Ripper stuff. So if you came for that, I think that's over. We got it.
We solved that mystery. Like
we solved it. Now. You're welcome. I thought of the best costume. I'm gonna go as an emo kid, and I'm gonna have a full door with me. Just so I can be like, you understand me, Dad, and slam the door. And then maybe have like a speaker with like muffled like emo music that's just like, tonight will be the night that I will die for you. It's just
you're gonna walk around with a door frame.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just to do that. People are like, why do you have an entire door frame? We're like, because of this.
you should show the picture that you sent me yesterday about what you're dressing up as for the 80s party tomorrow.
Oh, let me see
if I have got to get on that because
dude,
tomorrow night we're going to an 80s murder mystery, a fundraiser thing for a dog rescue, and I'm going to be in my glory, but I got to get me a nice 80s outfit.
If you're going to be in your glory, you better freaking...
Yeah. I mean, it's probably... I'm under 24 hours now. It's probably too late for me to get a Prince costume, but I'm going to do my best.
Oh, man. I wish I could... I could probably just pull up my phone. I guess I could show people like that. Where is it in my phone, though? Oh, I sent it to you guys, right?
Yeah, you checked.
So I have to let you guys know that I put this thing on. All right, I'll show the picture. If you're watching at home, I'm in like an old tracksuit with like the whole thing. I walked around my house with this on and danced for 20 minutes, just like pop locking around my house, just like broken glass.
You got the boombox on your shoulder. You got the whole thing.
Can I tell you that nobody in my house blinked an eye nor cared that I was doing this? Like no one cared. I was literally just like like whatever. Just, I mean, not even caring that no one cared, but just also just like and nobody
figure
cared.
you get some emotion from one of them to be like, "What's your problem?" Nothing.
Charlie looked up at me and he goes, "I'm trying to do homework." I'm just like, I'm like doing this.
He for once decided to start doing his homework after he saw you.
Yeah, he's like, whatever gets me away from this moment. And then, you know,
Charlie,
my daughter
look at
was
this.
just
Oh,
like,
I'm going to start doing my homework now. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I think Patty was doing dishes or something. She was like, whatever, stupid. But she has a matching outfit exactly like that. So I'm very excited. But I bought that wig like forever ago because we were doing Crawl & Oates, which was the Hall & Oates bar crawl. And then we never did it because I think COVID happened and we just like lost the idea. But I still had that. I was like, oh, I forgot. So I put that on. But yeah, so I don't know. That's it. Yeah. But it's very excited. We'll report back to you how fun that was because 80s murder mystery. You can't go wrong. All right. Well, that was the show this week, guys. I appreciate you guys coming.
Maybe I'll dress up as Jack the Ripper. It didn't say it had to be 1980s. It could be 1880s. I think I found my costume.
There you go. It's like, hello, my lady. Will you? Just being a real creeper.
Why is this guy dressed like that? Who's he?
I'm sorry. Was it not the 1880s?
I thought it was 1880s. No. Sorry.
I saw no 19, sir. My lady. That would be really funny. I approve this message. All right, everybody. Well, I appreciate you for coming. Join us every Friday at 5. We'll go live. If not, listen to us whenever you're doing dishes or doing fun stuff. That's fine as well. But we'd love to hear you join us in and join in the chat and have a good time. Talk about us. Talk about whatever we're doing. You know, tell people we're doing a great job, of course. But if you have any cool stories you want to share with us or you want to come to the show, feel free to at Monster Soup Podcast at gmail.com. Monster Soup Podcast at Facebook, not at Facebook, but on Facebook. If you want to look at me, put my playlist on there for Sia, for SZA. I keep wanting to say Sia. It's not Sia. It's SZA, and all the good music that you listen to. Listen, let people love it. Let people listen to their music, but also find some new stuff. Don't let yourself get stuck in a rut. There's a lot of good bands out there. Make it happen. A lot of good people out there. Talk to them. Go on a cruise if you can. Like me when I'm 45 or 44. Yeah, it's good times. All right. Well, the kitchen is closed and love you guys. Bye. If I can do it. Oh, there we go.